Hiding from somebody. Shoot. There he is. That was a different item than what I was expecting. I thought I was going to do a different sort of explosion. Oh well. Hey, howdy, hey, folks. Hope you are doing well. Tonight we are doing our casual Fortnite. Tomorrow we're going to be doing our Blender challenge. Okay, that's it. I chose the wrong map. Okay, let's see here. Where is Blitz Royale? That is the one I thought I was selecting. But anyway, tonight we're going to be doing this for a normal amount of time. This is open to people that are part of the Discord, or if I am familiar with who you are, because there are the exceptions. But there is one rule, and that is people that want to participate have to be an adult to be able to be in the voice chat. The only reason why that is a concern is because there have been a couple of times where I've had to actually delete. I've had to delete stuff twice as a result of us having people that said things that they shouldn't have and not wanting that to kind of be immortalized. Anyway, greetings there, Bastion. I'm a bit under the weather. I hope you heal soon, sir. And thanks for stopping by. Be sure to get as much rest as you can. Being under the weather is no fun, especially if that weather is a thunderstorm or a tornado. Ah, good sword. Now, I am having some internet problems, so if the stream cuts out, it could be, I'll try and get it back online soon, but it could be a series of problems as well. Oh, come on. Huzzah. Where's that gunfire coming from? Where are you, buddy? There we go. Ooh, I like that sword. One of the great things about Blitz is it's brought back a lot of my favorites. I am not good with the standard weaponry, and so I need stuff like this, gimmick items, or what some people would probably say are gimmick items. Things that are challenging in a different sort of way. Take that, Luke Skywalker. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. Bingo. Ooh, gotta probably get out of here. Huzzah, Anonymous. I'm not seeing anyone dropping swords. That's a problem. Oh, a golden sword. Legendary. Overshot. Oh, interesting. Come back here, you. Do you have a license for that weapon? Come on. Come on. Ah. Well, I could not chain that. Maybe my mouse is busted, or it's the internet that I was having problems with earlier. That's unfortunate. It was going so well to begin with. You know, there are a couple of things I've been hearing about the world of games, entertainment, and whatnot. Some things that have me kind of curious as to the kind of future of some of these items. And one of the things I'm noticing is that there is now truly a divided fandom for everything. I first started noticing this with Star Wars, but recently it has started to go into the world of, well, it started to go into stuff surrounding Superman. There are some people that are big fans of Superman, and there's some people that hate it. And I feel like everybody is trying to become as polarizing as possible, just in order to try and feel like they're somehow contributing to the discussion, which I'm all for. Oh, you can't land on here. Interesting. Which I'm all for, technically. I like the idea of contributing to a discussion, but only if you have really strong points. If you don't have strong points, well, then you have to really stop and wonder, do you need to contribute? I'm not saying that you can't contribute it, but I am saying that there are some people that they will say a claim and it doesn't really make sense in one way, shape, or form. It's a lot of items here. There we go. Wonderful. Wunderbar. So what do I mean by kind of in regards to this? You have an opinion, but it's not necessarily benefiting anybody. Well, let me put it this way. There was somebody who wanted to try and be like all the other streamers he saw on YouTube. And so when he saw, oh, that's not good. Get out of here. So when he saw people basically, well, they were getting super passionate about the subject. And then they started saying, I will fight anybody on this issue. And they were just getting all bent out of shape. They were all heated and trying to show that they cared because of how much they're arguing. It doesn't actually mean that you really care about what you're talking about. It just shows that you know how to be argumentative. You have to be able to give good reasoning. Now, I'm highly opinionated on Star Wars, for example. I can give multiple hours worth of discussion about this without a second thought. But I know other people that are opinionated on Star Wars, and they don't even know the first area to begin for the discussion. Uh-oh, that's not good, not good. That's one problem with the sword, is that it's really hard to recover with it. So when I see people saying about how terrible the new Superman is or how great it is, you have that polarization, and it really doesn't make sense because nobody is discussing the merit. They're discussing a feeling. They're discussing an emotion. They're not discussing the points. Now, we tried to break into the world of commentary and reviews, and I was joined by rolling chairs for a couple of them, but for most of them, and they were really good. I didn't always agree with the sort of outcome that came out of the discussion, but the thing is that it helped me to see things in a different way, and he helped to bring some of that. We had good discussions on the points, and I see a lot of places where they want to argue senselessly. It's like when people say, oh, does pineapple belong on pizza? I'd love to ridicule people that do that because it's so stupid. People like different types of pizza. Whoop-de-doo. It's no big surprise. But what I cannot stand is the people who are treating it not as a gimmick, but they're trying to act like it really does matter. And those people are surprisingly numerous, and they are highly opinionated. I was in a discussion a while back with somebody like this. And I was giving my points on a discussion, and they were very opinionated on stuff and said, I will fight anybody that disagrees with me on this. And I gave a disagreement, and then I gave a series of reasons as to why. And interestingly enough, the person had thought so little of their opinion that they didn't know what to do with it the moment that I started the counter arguments. And so this person that went from I'll fight anybody on the matter basically as a shutdown ended up not fighting anybody. And it was kind of humiliating. It's a reminder that you can have a strong opinion, but just because you can have an opinion doesn't mean you're benefiting anybody with it. So when I see all these people talking about how terrible and how great Superman is, I can't help but feel like people are trying to become famous. Honestly, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to become viral. And if they can become viral, well, then they've succeeded. But they don't need to become viral. If they really do believe in their opinion, well, then they should have that opinion regardless, not whether or not it gets clicks. That's what I hate about the web, is people treat it all, like every interaction is a sort of transaction. They treat it like it's all business, like your emotions are business, or your opinions are business. The fact that you have an opinion about what type of Fortnite weapon is the best in the world is an opinion that no one else should be able to contradict. It's all a game to them. That's why Hollywood is succeeding still, even though a lot of problems have happened with them. It's because we have people that are playing both sides. And they make money from people that keep getting into these discussions or getting heated about it. I've not watched even half of the Star Wars content out there. because I don't like it, because I can't stand it. I haven't watched anything from Marvel since, what was it? I can't even remember because I saw something from Marvel. I'm like, nope, no more. Because I couldn't stand it. That's an opinion that is resulting in something. It's no longer it's not a gimmick. It's designed to have a legitimate opinion. I'm going to reorganize my little windows here. There we go. I hate that swords get weak. Should be able to find more ammo for it. Yeah. Why can't I find replacement swords? I don't want this stupid weapon. I want swords. Where'd he go? Too many people. This is bad. Replacement? Yeah, perfect. Oh no. Rats. Just when I got the replacement sword too. So building up false hype. It may sound good. It may make you feel energetic about it. Yeah, I got an opinion on something. But eventually it starts to wane a little bit. Here and there. Eventually it starts to become not just dribble. It becomes irritating. And people around you will start to get irritated by it. eventually you'll start to become irritated by it. There's a guy that I know, he does commentary on stuff, and a couple of years ago, he admitted that he was just tired because he hated that having to keep hyping stuff up and trying to disparage stuff because everyone wanted him to. And he was making a living doing this stuff. He made a lot of money in streaming. He made thousands of dollars. He made enough to have a modest living, and he hated it. He was very discouraged by it. He felt like he was lying constantly, and he wanted out. I chatted with him about it, and he was really, really keen on wanting to go back to Disney. He wanted more than anything to go back to Disney. He loved Disney. And even with all the changes, he still loved the company. But everyone else was telling him that he couldn't love it anymore. He had to draw a line. And nobody was going to allow him to have an opinion that contradicted their desire for the company to fall. I've heard people say the company's fallen apart for a long time, and yet at the same time, the company still is finding success. Something's amiss. Somebody's lying. Either the company's lying and making profits, and not making actual profits, or the fans are lying because they want desperately for the company to collapse. I'm finding I do really well with these pistols. That used to not be the case. Well, now I can't hit. Oh, somebody else got him. I better go up here. Double check if there's anything I need. Too late, Storm. So the guy couldn't enjoy Disney anymore. And there was a time where he started to say something positive about Disney, and he got ridiculed horribly. He was being forced to polarize when he didn't want to. Now, it didn't mean that that he was overlooking the problems of Disney. He just had a very balanced opinion on it. And I do believe he had a balanced opinion, even though I didn't agree with him on a lot of things, but is still fairly well balanced. You need people that are balanced, that can change their tune if it calls for it. If something comes along and disproves their former opinion. You need people that are critically minded to be giving you strong opinions, because that means that they have tested it. If you can't test an idea and prove it, kind of like the people that say Disney has fallen apart, well, wonderful. I concur. But then, why is their company still making money? Somebody's paying for it. And if you are so incapable of being able to see that there's something else in play, you're going to be disappointed over and over again. And you're going to say, why doesn't the company fall apart? Well, I can tell you why. It's because they found a new audience. And their new audience has a lot of money. In fact, their new audience is even richer than their old one. Like everyone combined. So they have found a new way to make fortune. I could have taken if I just use the shotgun. But I'm not good with a shotgun. Yes, dance away, you Mandalorian. Being critically minded is not a trait people are praised for. If anything, I would dare say people are more likely to be condemned for being critically minded. It doesn't matter what background you come from. People want obedient little servants. And that goes for all sides. A critically minded individual is not swayed by the trends. Sure, they may agree with the trends, but they're not swayed by it and basically feel like they are forced, well, like they're trying to force you to go one way or the other. That person I mentioned earlier that had the strong opinion that said that they would fight me if I fight anybody who disagreed with them, and I promptly disagreed. Here's a question. If you come across somebody like that, can you reason with them? I mean, I was kind of successful in getting them to be quiet, but did I sway them at all? Oh, golly, that's not good. Drink in the ocean. Good, this one doesn't get damaged. Perfect. Oh, I've wanted to have a sword that doesn't get damaged for a while. Unfortunately, I also cannot stack these swords. I used to be able to do that, and I'd run around with 2 swords, maybe even 3. Oh, perfect. I needed another one of those. So having a strong opinion. Oh, another one. Wait a minute. Which one's better? This one's a 5. Whoa. Are these just the same swords? Legendary and Mythic. I guess Mythic is probably going to be better. Wait a minute. No, it's not. This one's better. It's got more charges. You know, I sure do a lot of rambling in these streams. I wonder how often it actually makes sense. Ouch. Ooh. Dang. Just because I... Oh well. Just because I was double checking an item. Oh well. Sometimes, well, I realized something also when I was thinking about the people that are putting on a persona of whether or not they love or hate something. There's another thing that happens with streamers. It is guaranteed that if it doesn't happen in the first few weeks of things really kind of getting kicked off, it will happen after the first few months. Or at max, maybe the first 3 years. I've noticed that around the 2-year marker to 3-year marker, most streamers quit. Some others get the wind in their sails again. But it's after some time away. I preemptively took some time away earlier, partially because of work, but also because I realized that there is this very real trend that seems to happen. Oof. I thought that person had less health. Anyway, people after 2 to 3 years end up quitting. And I was trying to figure out what the reason was. For some people, it is because they run out of material. Thankfully, I have gotten to live a lot of different experiences to be able to draw inspiration from. So I'm never out of... Honestly, I could do this for probably a good 10, 15 years. Just on the stuff that I have experienced and the sort of creative stuff that I have planned. Just right now. Now, it's probably not going to happen, but that's what I kind of have, thankfully. A lot of people don't have that. So that's the first thing. They run out of material. Second off, and now this is the more real possibility, they say something and it kills the stream. Now, everybody's going to say something controversial. Everybody. I'm not saying that you can't say something that's controversial. I've said things that are very controversial. And I dare say I've said things that have been detrimental to the channel. But here's the thing. You can recover from that. But a lot of people are in it for the money. As a result, when the money dries up, they just say, nope, that's it. We're going to find something else. And that's when they just say, well, quit, find something else, and move on. If you have real opinions, well, you will want to still share those opinions regardless. And it won't dishearten you too much. Now, it will be disheartening, but it's not going to end you, so to speak. What it will do is it will spur you forward. That's one of the reasons why you don't want to do things that are trendy, because it's not something where you can have really solid opinions about it. And when push comes to shove, you might put your foot in your mouth unknowingly for no reason. Now, if I say something that's controversial, it's probably because it's something I have a deep conviction over. Now, someone could very easily take something I say and jump to a conclusion. I have had people do that to me in the past, some big names as well. People that that make a bad assumption Come back here, buddy. Well, that's a problem. Oh no 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 no. I thought I was gonna be able to trick him there. I knew it. I knew it. When you let somebody go, they're going to be the one that comes back to get you later on. So you're going to say something controversial. It's inevitable. But if you're deeply convicted by it, well, then you have to be able to find a way to ease people into it so they understand, so they don't jump to a conclusion. There's another thing that can happen, and this is one that I've just started to notice. This is a brand new one to me. You get targeted, not by people trying to cancel you, but people who are jealous, or people that are vindictive, and they try to ruin you. Now, I should have known about that because somebody tried to do that to me. But I thought it was just kind of a rare case. I didn't realize that was a common thing. Very common. I saw that happening to some big-time folks recently. I also saw it happening to some smaller streamers. The people who are big streamers, they would become embittered. And kind of... They wouldn't really do one thing or another. They just kind of tell people to shut up and move on. If you're a small streamer, that can become very overwhelming, and you kind of want to try and find a way to appease people, and it doesn't usually go well. Ah, shoot. I missed the city from Island 4. My sword's gone. Gasp. Where'd the sword go? Oh, that could have been bad. Can't believe I did that. Yes! Yes! I have wanted this back for a long time. Oh, that's so great. It's weaker, but it's still a fun item. Come back here, you alien. Never mind. Need this in preparation for the end game. How many years has it been that this thing has been locked away? Oh, come on. The tree doesn't get destroyed? Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, golly, that's bad. Ah. I was hoping to get high enough that he'd be trying to look behind him. That wasn't fast enough. And again, the guy that got away, that's the one that causes problems. So this idea that some people have really been leaning on, which is tearing people down. A lot of times they'll pick on people that really, I hate to say it, but they really shouldn't be streaming to begin with. I think they sense an easy, so to speak, an easy kill. They see somebody who is already floundering and unsure of themselves, and so they come in and they try and tear that person down. They try and go onto social media, tear them down. I've seen this happen now with, I think 5 people this year. I've not seen this happen before. I mean, granted, like I said, I got started with that, so somebody literally tried to do that. But now these people they're going after people that are unsure of themselves, and that's an unfair fight. They'll try and do mob mentality on people that really don't know what to do or think. They're just trying to be, trendy because they want so desperately to be like, so to speak, even though I don't think that they are, they want to be like their heroes. And for a lot of people, their heroes have become people from social media. Good thing I had that health. So imagine if you are, let's say, I don't know if I want this one more, but we'll give it a shot. A shot. But so people love to pick on folks that they know they can get an easy win. It's kind of like people that use hacks in order to win games, which is surprisingly high. I have been fascinated about this because I do coding, mostly for the web, but I have noticed ways that you can be able to hack stuff in games just by using some pretty easy strategies. Now, I'm not somebody who knows how to even do that. I had a hard time trying to code my own Fortnite minigame. But I do know that these issues are there, and the older the game, the more likely these problems are going to be there. Well, there's easy ways to solve it, but most companies don't want to go down some of those routes. Ooh. Uh-oh. Come on. Oh, golly, that was very bad. Could have been worse. Back over here. Me want. Just like the guy from last game. It's just me and him. Come on, I want to see if this works. You're the storm! Yes! It worked! But not the way I was expecting. That should not have worked. He chose an interesting strategy. Victory. So these people that pick on smaller streamers, and I'm not saying smaller in the terms of numbers. Some of them have pretty large numbers. I have small numbers. And honestly, that's for a reason. Like I said earlier, I'm highly opinionated. I have said things that have lost a whole lot of people's interest. I'm also kind of boring. That also is something that kind of comes into play. I don't have a lot of hype. I don't do a lot of trendy things. That's one of the reasons why my channel is so very, 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 very small. And sure, is it in the hundreds on some of the platforms? Yes. But just because there's followers doesn't mean they're real. The majority of followers I've gotten are all bots. Or they are accounts that are either no longer active or people that have found other places to want to spend their time. That's understandable. But when you come across somebody who has about 1,000, 2,000 people, they're not big. In fact, they may be even smaller than this channel in terms of how many people show up on the regular. So these people will go hunting. These troublesome people will go hunting for people that have around 10,000 followers or less. And they will try to harass them and cause immense pain and irritation. Well, some of the people that I know or have been observing are starting to snap. It didn't take much for some folks. But if that is the case, I hate to say it, but you really shouldn't be streaming. And I'm not saying that to be cruel either. What I'm trying to do is say that that's a warning sign of things that are to come. And if you can't deal with it here, then you got to be very careful about it in the future, because it's going to happen again. If you can't learn to deal with it, it may be a plague for you from here on out. People are dropping their swords immediately? That must be all the bots. Do you remember when Fortnite was arguing how they didn't actually have bots? Like, oh, all the people claiming we have bots, they're lying. They're making that up. We have real players every game. Yeah, right. Ah, phooey. And then it turned out later on, they finally admitted, oh yeah, well, we do have bots, but you know, it's only for the lower levels. And then the pros started to notice that there were bots in pro lobbies, and they're like, okay, fine, we have bots everywhere. It was considered a conspiracy theory early on. Now it's just naturally assumed that you're going to have lots of bots. So anyway, the people that start to crack and start to have really big problems with folks that are harassing them. I bring that up because of the people I've seen, not because of anything I have recently had to deal with. But it's kind of ties around to what I've been saying over the last couple of years. Be civil. Because if you're not, well, you might end up being one of the harassers. And you might end up hurting somebody way worse than you realize. Oof. I knew better than to try and engage people that fast. Careless after the victory. There's also a whole lot of people who have mental issues and they are online. Whole lot. Usually that's a reason why they're online, because the real world starts becoming a little too difficult depending on your circumstances. Sometimes civility is not just being courteous, it's also showing mercy to somebody who maybe is having issues. And there's a lot of streamers, whole lot of streamers that have mental issues. In fact, I have found out that some of the biggest streamers out there have severe mental issues, and they are very open about it. Well, some of them are. And so when you have people that are harassing, go after somebody that has one of these issues, that just makes it all the worse. That's a bot. I've noticed the bots don't carry the swords. There was a guy that I was friends with, and he had some pretty big issues. They weren't terrible issues, and honestly, he was a perfectly functioning young man. He was just slow, and it was known to all. Even he realized it about himself. Well, somebody was taking advantage of him. And they were mocking him. They were using his slowness against him. And he didn't realize it. He thought they were trying to help. He thought they were trying to be encouraging. And they ended up being very cruel. Eventually, he got wise to it, and the damage was done. People were ridiculing him, and the wall came down. Several people started to chime in and saying about how he kind of deserved it. Well, that was interesting. Oh no, it's not good. Uh-oh. Oh, golly, that's really not good. Shoot. So this guy got picked on, and the walls came down, and everyone started to ridicule him and mock him. He was... I'm going to go back to the original game. I think I'm ready for something a little bit slower. He became very discouraged, very broken, very fast. Because suddenly, once the walls came down, and he sat down and thought about it, he realized that he was being mocked for so long that he started to put two and two together. And he started realizing people had been mocking him the entire time. Imagine what that's like to suddenly find out that somebody that you cared about or somebody that you admired was secretly mocking you the entire time. And that they never had your best interests in mind. They just had one thing in mind, and that is to get joy out of your pain. Very few people seem to care that there's folks that will do that to other people. And sometimes you'll be around folks that are like that. People that are willing to tear down into different people at a moment's notice. People that are kind of like what that goat was experiencing. Greetings, Inertia. How you doing? Ooh, no art today. Yeah, not today. This is the one day a week that we don't do art. We're going to be doing the Blender Challenge tomorrow. And that's going to be something where you try and make an animation from start to finish. But this one's going to be a little different because it's going to be going back and fixing the past one, which got put on hold. But anyway, also hi, indeed, same to you. What sort of projects have you been working on today? Can I pick up more of these guys? Nope. Ooh, perfect. These games used to be a lot more, a lot bigger parts of the week. It has since tapered off Gimme, 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 gimme. Oh, golly. Give me that. I want that. Come on. Oh, this is not good. Dagnabbit. I didn't realize they brought that back to this. I saw it in the Blitz, but I didn't realize they brought it back to the main game. But anyway, these streams used to be a lot bigger in the day. In fact, this used to be one of the biggest draws. Not so much anymore, which is honestly for the best. I don't want this game to be what defines the streams. I do it out of just a chance to be able to ramble about stuff, as well as be able to interact with folks. It has there's been some really great streams that were part of the Fortnite stuff. Some that got into some pretty deep conversations as well, but yeah, not so much these days. When you start arting for a while, you realize how drastic your skills degrade. Literally relearning how everything should work. Well, that is indeed true. But you know what else is true? It takes much less time to relearn it. Practice, practice, practice. I've been trying to draw a little bit each day, or once every 2 days. And already my quality has improved drastically. Last night was an abbreviated stream, but we were doing some storyboards, or at least getting the process of getting into animatics. That will be happening next week as well. But I realized storyboarding is an art unto itself. When I am kind of in the groove and all refreshed on how to do a storyboard, it goes much, much, much faster. But right now, I've noticed my skill in that has kind of been axed. And so it's taking me a while to relearn as well, even though I am drawing a lot more these days. I took my old work and wondered why my younger self can do it, but not me. That's part of life, isn't it? That's a frustrating part of life, indeed. There was a moment in Walt Disney's life where he was a pretty decent artist. In fact, he was hired to do all sorts of commissions. He was hired to do animated videos and shorts. He was a master of his craft, and very few people can compete with him. Well, as it would come to pass, after he started hiring artists, he no longer had the skills. In fact, as time went on, he lost the ability to do any sort of artwork. And one day, someone came up and asked for him to draw Mickey Mouse. He promptly took the paper and pencil and handed it to one of his hired artists and said, "Draw him a picture of Mickey." He used to draw Mickey. He was the one who first drew Mickey, and he could no longer draw it. It did not take but, I think, 5 years for that to happen. If you don't use a skill, you lose it. But, again, you can regain it. It just takes a little bit of effort. But not a lot of people want that effort. They really hate the idea of having to put in effort. But if you can rise above that, then you will do what most people cannot. Younger me had a better grasp of color theory and anatomy. Indeed. I do understand that I base it off something. So right now I'm staring at old anime fight scenes I used to watch. I'm channeling my child self. Well, hope it goes well. There are some pieces of artwork that I look back on and think, how did I do that? There's some other ones where I think, how was I not better? Superman's skull has appeared. Here's that. Oh, that's far away. Whoa! Did you fall? Oh, darn it. I thought he was falling to his doom. I need to stop thinking like an adult and start thinking as that fresh artist just drawn whatever he likes. You know. Let me see if I can pull up an old piece of art that I did. I think I have an example around here. I've been trying to compile stuff and reorganize it. It's been a frustrating endeavor. Aha. All right. Yes, indeed. All right. So, this is a picture of a squirrel that I did when I was younger. And it turned out pretty well, honestly. Spent a lot of time figuring out how to draw stuff like that. And here's a problem, though. That was one of the best pieces of artwork that I did for a long, long time. This right here was about, I would say, 10 years later. Side-by-side comparison. Which one was better? And by the way, the beaver over here is intentionally bad because I couldn't finish, intentionally like cropped off because I couldn't finish the rest of it. It was too frustrating. I couldn't do it. It took me probably a good solid year of drawing to finally get back up to speed. And that's not even drawing intently. I was doing it on and off. But I finally got back to that skill set, and I've tried not to let it disappear, but there's times where I'm like, yeah, my skills are slipping. There's a better comparison that I have somewhere, but I haven't scanned it because it's just so bad. I don't even know where I put it. I don't destroy things. I need them as like reminders. All right, let's see here. I want to, I think it's time to finally change the radio here. Nope, that's not working. Huh. Let's go down here. There we go. The skills of an artist, skills of an actor, skills of an engineer. We all have skills that, when not used, will degrade and we will regret it. So, then here's the question. Are the people who are workaholics, and thus they never lose their skills, are those people better off? Or do they have other problems that start to arise and replace the problems of losing their skills? When I was younger, I kind of had this idea that I would become a workaholic. I wanted to, really. And then I finally gave it a try, you could say. I tried to intently go down that path of being a workaholic, and it didn't really pan out very well. It did not last very long before it kind of collapsed in, and I abandoned that sort of approach. Because for something like that to happen, you have to give up something else. And I found out, personally, that was sanity. So even though you could stay focused, even though you could be proactive, you eventually would start to lose yourself, and you wouldn't even like the stuff that you were making. Sure, you could do a lot of projects really fast, but only for a little bit, and then you would lose that ability. I did not expect that. Maybe it's just me, but I have noticed this is a very real problem that can happen. Come back here, Superman. You're not faster than a speeding bullet. It's a lie. Propaganda by Krypton. Hello. I'm a workaholic myself, though drowning yourself in work is not a healthy way to live. It's probably just me, but I most often find myself having tunnel vision. Then you just get stuck feeling uncomfortable when you're resting. Yeah, that's a true thing. Bolts are faster than Superman, confirmed. Yeah, Superman was probably having to deal with early form low velocity rounds. Hey, dog bone. What's that sound? Oh. Oh, hello. Demon soldier. Oof. Beware of that. Is it better to aim for the face inside there? I do not know. It's probably Superman from Temu. What the heck? Someone else. Oh, it's you. That's not really making it... I'm really dealing a whole lot of damage here. Let's try the little shields again. Oh, that does quite a bit more. Yes, fall apart, you strange, freaky... Oh, golly! That could have been really bad. Thank you, Crypto, for saving me. Those are big bugs down there. Well, the pom-poms of doom almost took me out there. I wonder how I escaped. Because the player should be really fast with that. Burst pistol. I don't think I'm going to like this. Oh, yep, they got pom-poms of doom. Come back here, you demon beast. We don't want no demons around here. Yes! Pom-poms of doom. No more. Hello, somebody's shooting at me. You know, speaking of Temu, that reminded me of something. If you have a real strong desire to get a product, and you go online and you see a product for sale. I'm going to go with this rather than that, because I don't think I like... Yeah, I don't like that. That's bad. And you see a product that is available on cheap from a Chinese company like Temu. What is the level of quality that you're willing to live with for like a really cheap price? If you see something on Temu and it is a tenth of what you could get here in the States, or even less, does that justify it? And do you think, hey, I'm going to get it just because of that? Something that we don't think about a whole lot is there is a massive amount of danger from buying stuff on Temu. Shein is another company that China has that is very, very problematic. They sell all sorts of trash. But here's the thing. People are willing to pay through the nose to get Shein. But they found out something. The people that order Shein are finding out a lot of their clothing that they purchase from it is poisonous. Yes, you heard that right. Some people receive their products, and because it's such poor quality, they don't wash off any of the chemicals that they use in the process. And so some people have come away with permanent burns on their skin from putting on the clothing. Temu's got similar sorts of problems. As long as it's usable and doesn't break easily, the market wins by default. Seeing blood on your Shein plushie is not a good sign. So, things like that are happening en masse with stuff from Temu. The quality has gone down because they've finally hit like market saturation where they're never going to get any more than this. They can only lose, and so they're like trying to get as much as they can. And I will not pretend like all Chinese companies are garbage. Some of them make incredible stuff, but I love the Chinese people. But the Chinese culture has a belief that says that if you can cheat, then cheat. That is a saying that is quoted more than Confucius. So we think of like, oh, the Chinese, they probably have all these like quotes from Confucius that keep them like level-headed. Well, they have these other ones that are about criminality. And that makes a lot of problems if you're trying to sell products that have potential chemical baths that they're going into. And suddenly you're like, oh, well, who cares that we put it inside this who cares that we dipped our candies into arsenic? It gives a perfect shine to the product. I'm exaggerating there, but it does. Things like that do happen. There are some very dangerous chemicals that they will use, and they don't think about the potential fallout. Perfect landing. But here's the other thing. This is the one that I thought for certain people in America were going to be like super opinionated on this, but they weren't. And I don't understand why. And I think it's just because people want a deal and they're not willing to think about some of the fallout. China has massive slave labor. And we like to think of ourselves as people that... Dagnabbit, doesn't actually eliminate the player doing that. Come back here, buddy. What are you doing here? Oh, you're the bot. Of course. Lead me to your master bot. Come on. Dang nabbit. At least I got S rank. I don't like Temu. They use predatory pricing, marketing things that look cheap, look cheaper than they actually are. If you take a step back, the value they provide overall is not that much. This is true. Speaking of cheap, get away from us, bot. Block. Twitch, we can get rid of this. You don't have to let these things keep coming in. It's very easy. The code is not that hard. But anyway, the slave labor is horrible. A lot of other countries have slave labor too. We don't bat an eye about it. That's a really hard argument to make these days. When you have companies that basically have people chained to their workstations, I say basically because it's not actual chains, but they're chained inside of a building. The building is locked. It's got bars. It's got nets outside the windows so people don't jump to their death. Here in the West, we have the ability, maybe not always, but we have the ability to follow up and make sure people are obeying, that people are not causing problems. Kind of like I worked for Amazon, and they treat people horribly. But you know what? I have the freedom to stop working there. I have the freedom to speak about it and say, like, hey, Amazon's messed up. I have the ability to actually stream on their platform and say Amazon as a company is messed up. And it has some very cruel and unethical practices. If I said that about the company that I worked for in one way, shape, or form over in China, horrible things would happen. I know a lot of Chinese people, and I've seen some of the darker sides of it, and they have my immense pity. I find it fascinating that they can live with some of that stuff. And they are very tough because many of them hold to values despite that. Those people are to be commended. I don't like slavery, but economics is making me doubt my ethical compass, as there are literally countries and people relying on these types of services to form an overall chain of supply and demand. Yeah. There were wars fought over this. And now, all of it has gone back to the way it was. Ironic, isn't it? There's a guy that I know. I won't even say what part of China he's from, because the more I think about it, the more I realize I probably shouldn't even, for whatever reason, because of AI being able to scrape information, I don't want to give any ability to pinpoint where he is or where he was. I don't know if he's there anymore. But I knew a guy who came over to America because he was desperate for truth. He was a Christian. He was did not have any sort of biblical foundation. He came over to America to find that. And I found that commendable. He was willing to risk a whole lot in order to find the opportunity to get sure footing. When he went back to China, he went back to a place where you could be arrested at any moment for doing that, because he was not compromising. He was not going to the state-led churches. And in that sense, you could be arrested with no questions. You could be disappeared. Depending on the region, it could be very, very bad. We had many good conversations. I have nothing but a desire for him to find joy and peace. He's in a country where literally he could be enslaved at a moment's notice for the things he believes. He already is technically enslaved, you could say. He's enslaved to a company, but it can get worse. It's very hard to be able to stand against the wrongs that happen in another country. But to me, it's almost like they serve as a warning of what can happen to any country, and a warning of what we can end up having to face in the future. And we don't know what those challenges are going to be. For my friend, unfortunately, it is something where his whole world could come to an end in a moment. It's that sort of situation for him. I don't have to worry about that in the same way. That guy reminds me of Skutless. I think it was Skutless that wore stuff like that. There are two places I'm too scared to step into. That's Korea and Japan. Then there's very terrifying ones. A very terrifying one, which is China. Korea and Japan can be quite intimidating. Having lived there, I can say, having lived in Japan, I can say it is a very hard one for a lot of Westerners to be able to adjust to. But yeah, I was offered a free trip to China when I was studying, and it was going to be the point of where I could become a student overseas, and everything would be paid for. Well, I knew some students that did that, and they had to overlook the worst things, and they were exploited, they were used, and then they came back to America and they were very quiet about what they had seen because it was very sobering. There's a great show out there that's worth watching, and that is the China Show on YouTube. They're honestly the only channel I have actively been endorsing and recommending to people for years now. It is an incredible show, and you learn so much about the Chinese people. You get a respect for the difference between the U.S. and China. You get a chance to see it from an insider's perspective. Top-notch show, China Show, run by two guys who lived in China for 10 years. Their branding is two guys with motorcycles. But anyway, top-notch. And you'll learn a lot about the culture that you will never, ever, ever, ever hear anywhere else. Japan is too reliant on traditions, respect, and loyalty to the point where they bow their heads to everyone. Korea is the same with less stability. Basically, it's like slavery with extra steps. The work culture is that you have to get enough to live, but not enough to actually thrive. It's slavery with extra steps. China, I don't have to explain. Yep. Now, I will definitely say every culture has also other parts of it that become that can seem to be one way, and then you live there in something quite different. An example is when I lived in Germany. I love Germany. The German people are wonderful, and but they also have a no-nonsense culture. To a lot of people, that sounds very cold and very harsh, to the point of where people think that German as a language sounds cold and harsh, because its people can sometimes be cold and harsh. But when you understand kind of the basic sort of principles behind how they think, how they discuss things, it becomes a lot more understanding. Japan's one of those places like that too. So is Korea. Their work culture, though, you're right, it can be brutal. Once you work at a place, you're basically expected to work there for the rest of your life. There's when I was in college, I was trying to become I was trying to find a way to go to Japan for several semesters. I think the number of times I actually put in for the trip to Japan was 5. But I was turned down every single time. It was funny because the people that were chosen were people that didn't care about the Japanese people in any way, shape, or form. They wanted to go over for everything else, but to actually, be a blessing. And how far away is that? Oh, far away. But one of the things that the Japanese understand very, very well is they understand how tradition. How do I put this? They understand the reason behind traditions. A lot of traditions we have here in the West, if you were to ask people, why do we think this or why do we do this? Most people don't know. Japan is very familiar with why they do certain traditions. And actually, in some ways, it makes a lot of sense. In a lot of ways, it doesn't. And that's the part where it's kind of funny talking to someone from Japan and they start to point out the problems in their culture. Now, their culture does allow them to be phenomenal at mastering a skill, but it makes it very hard for them to be innovative. Japan is a country that needs America. And that is because, for them, America is the innovator. America comes up with the great ideas. If America stops coming up with ideas, Japan crumbles. And that we have seen that happen time and time again. But ask someone from Japan to try and innovate. I have never quite understood this because I come from a land where we innovate. To them, they don't know even where to start. It's kind of like saying, hey, let's come up with a brand new mode of transportation. We're going to use a combination of kites and blimps, and we're going to make a very efficient form of transportation for heavy goods. And it's like, okay, well, now we have an idea. Let's start playing with that. You ask someone from Japan to come up with an idea like that, they can only think of airplane and boat. I'm exaggerating here, but it's that sort of idea of where it has to have already been created. And I heard this on a Japanese podcast a while back where they were talking about the inability to innovate. And I find that fascinating because to them, they have the ability to perfect things to a degree that a Westerner can't. Like if you want to get a high quality pen, by the way, high quality, the best of pens, pencils, cars, whatnot, are all Japanese because they have that culture of high efficiency, professional development, but they can't innovate. It's baffling. It's already happening now as it still happens. Where is this guy? This guy just took a pot shot at me. Oh, there we go. That's completely worthless. Oh, no. Come on. Shoot. Oh well. You know, there's a guy that I got to listen to. This was back in the year 2008. He was known as, I think, the Blue Ninja. He was an undercover guy that was working in North Korea in order to help Korean people to escape the tyranny. He had some phenomenal stories to tell, and they were sobering. You never quite realize what it's like to live in slavery until you have been there. But this was about as close as you could get to feeling what it is the people of North Korea felt. The fear and the realization of what they had to deal with in order to escape. He showed us a film that they took to the UN. It's not like publicly available, as I understand, because like companies were trying to shut them down. But it was shell-shocking. I'll just say that. I feel so sorry for those people. In any case, in terms of work, those are the three countries I definitely avoid. In terms of culture, I don't mind visiting as a tourist. We have it very well in our here in the US. In fact, people in most of Europe have it pretty well off too, even though I would say that it's still pretty poor compared to what we have here in the US. They still have it pretty well off. There are a lot of countries in this world where you do not have it well off. Not even in the slightest. I remember hearing from a missionary who was traveling around the world. He came back and he mentioned that of all the places he was traveling, there was a common thread among all of them. The places that suffered the most had the least value of human life. Those that struggled, it was all self-inflicted. Here's an example. In China, there is a common problem of people that will get run over by automobiles. Now, we have people that get hit over here in the US, but that's a crime and you end up in serious trouble. And so you can have your license removed. You can end up in huge legal trouble. You pay the price for your mistake. Well, in China, in order to avoid legal ramifications, they look back, and if the person is still breathing, they hit reverse. We'll just leave it at that. And then, if it looks good to them, then they will leave, and they won't, and then they disappear, so to speak. That is a part of Chinese culture that is hard for a lot of people to come to terms with. And something that the Chinese people themselves hate. But the problem is that it's still part of the culture. The people suffer not because of the government. Well, that is indeed true. The government is very cruel to them. But they suffer mostly from the people they see on a daily basis, their neighbors. If you love your neighbors, you're going to care about their well-being as much as your own. And you're probably going to not want them to be hurt senselessly. If you live in a country that suffers, you have to look in the mirror first and say, is there anything I can do to be able to fix it? Sure. Could you expect like a revolution to change things? Yes. But it only will work if you have people that understand the value of human life. Oh, no. Yes, crypto. Thank you. That's not quite what I wanted to do. Okay, swap the items here. But I've been wondering about that, of how just the way that we value people can change our country's trajectory. Some people could say that we in the West have too much empathy, and there's probably an argument for that. But I'd rather have too much empathy than too little. In most Chinese culture, families comes first, but being cunning and also sorry, my bad. My reading's not very good right now. In most Chinese cultures, family comes first, but being cunning and also commended, and they punish weakness. Cunning is also commended. Yeah, there we go. My pacing was all over the place on that reading. But you're right. You are right. So raises the question. As a society, what can we do to improve things? Like, there's all sorts of problems in our culture. There's many problems in our nation. What can we do to try and change things? Because voting, it only helps a little bit. And I do say it does help a little, but the older I get, the more I realize it really doesn't do nearly as much as we think it does. But what does change things is whether or not we are engaged in our local community. If we care about our local community, if we look out for the well-being of our neighbors, that is really what's going to change things. Things can change nationally, and your community will still be here. something to remember. Hello. Uh-oh. That's a Superman. I'm out. Can't fight that guy. Never mind, coming back. Superman's been defeated. Impossible. Come on. That's not good. Help, Crypto. Yes, good doggy. Oh, no. Oh, ah. All victims of fear. Yeah. I have a solution, but it's really dark. Make it a law and punish promoting selfish acts and let the... Oh my goodness. Then again, just... let's see here. Then again, that's just communism. Never mind. Just let natural selection do things. I suck at solutions. Oh, golly. You know, empathy is surprisingly not a common trait that human beings have. Some cultures, it's very, very, very bad. I remember hearing someone mentioning that to some people, the thought of being kind to somebody doesn't even cross their mind. They asked some people in China, I want to be careful I don't go too dark. I've been accused of doing that in the past. In my early days of streaming, I went into some pretty dark areas fast, like just going out, immediately mentioning exactly what happens in some of these places, and it shell-shocked quite a few folks. I got enough complaints that I was like, okay, I need to tailor this back. But I will put it this way. There was some Chinese folks who were asked whether or not they wanted to try and help their neighbor. And they gave a very emphatic no. They didn't see that as necessary. They didn't see it as good. And which to some people may have been like, oh yeah, no, sure, that's fine. I mean, your neighbor doesn't always deserve everything, and your neighbor might try and take advantage of you. That's not really what was being referred to. It was more like, do you want to see somebody take advantage of your neighbor? And basically, what the response was, oh, someone came up and knocked my neighbor down. Well, I'm going to go over and kick him, basically. There's something over in China called revenge killings. And what's the term? Rage against society. I won't go into the details, but let's just say it is about as dark as it gets. It makes a lot of stuff over here in the West. It makes a lot of crimes that take place in our communities seem like child's play. And that, for them, is something that they have to live with on a daily basis. With that realization that something could happen, someone could finally snap. But it's important to always maintain a sense of care. Even if it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be able to act. still just the realization that there are people that are going to rely upon you, and to not view everybody as basically a way to get ahead in life. Here in the West, we have an understanding that there's always somebody that you're supposed, oh yes, oh no. Oh golly, that horrible abomination comes out of nowhere. That was truly gave me a bit of a freak out there. I hate that art. Oh golly. Whew. It's like a demon. I mean, that style of artwork is like designed to be unsettling, and I got definitely unsettled by that. Oh golly. But anyway, we have an understanding that there is a need to be empathetic to somebody. To some people, that's just their family. To other people of a community. To other folks, it's anyone who is American. To some folks, it is anybody who is in need. So, that being said, when you go over to China and you suddenly realize that they have no empathy, and that to them, even their own flesh and blood should be exploited. Ooh, how do you reason with something like that? How do you even do business deals with something like that? And I asked that question because a lot of companies are trying to make big business deals, including some that have decided to... My goodness. Some companies that have decided that they're going to become a tool of Chinese companies, including one that I was on the phone with just recently. And, oh, is that him? Oh yeah, that's him. Okay. I was trying to find out if they made their product in America, and they said, no, we're only making stuff in China now. But we are we're an American company. It's like, so you're using slave labor, but claiming that it's free market. Right, exactly. So very logical. They were taking advantage of our culture by having an American-based company serve as the shell of their business. So, people like that are, I do believe, one day going to be held accountable for some of their partnerships, because suffering is happening. And just because they don't have empathy as a company, because they're like, hey, you know what, if we make money, then that's what counts. One day, somebody is going to finally call them out. And right now, that is kind of starting to happen. More and more people are waking up. And they're like, wait a minute, why do we want to be associated with this? Especially when you start looking at your product and realize it's kind of like taking blood money. What's more, you're killing your own community by investing in overseas products. By investing overseas, that means your own neighbor is unable to make a normal living wage. Everyone gets hurt. And eventually, even the companies that take advantage of that stuff get hurt, because China eventually replaces them. And suddenly, they're no longer with a partner in China. They're being exploited, and they are now losing their job. Ironic, isn't it? The reasoning for it is backwards too. If you help, you should go all the way. Like, bruh. I believe the only way you can work with someone like that is if you're inept to empathy. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the reasons why it troubles me so much when I hear about companies that are making business deals. Like, folks, I was in a business class. It was the only business class that I took. And it was an upper level business class. It was an elective that I got to take, and there was no prerequisite for it. It was business, like it was how to manage business. We went around the room, and I had just recently come back from working at Disney. And so I had some firsthand experience working for a company. No one else there had any experience. I was the only student who had any background. I had worked for Little Caesars, I had worked for Target, and I just got back from working for Disney. And we went around the room, and the professor asked, how much of a wage does the CEO deserve? Now, I am by no means, I by no means want to try and disparage folks for wanting to get a fair wage or whatnot. I also don't want to pretend like CEOs somehow deserve to get peanuts. But I do have some very strong opinions when it comes to some of the business practices that take place and who ends up paying the price. Well, we went around the room, and every one of the students basically said the CEO deserves between 40 and 50% minimum of the company. What's more, they said they deserve to have, yet even if there was employees that couldn't afford any sort of lodging, or if their employees couldn't even pay for food. Period. Oh no. Yeah, it was bad. Now, here's why this troubled me when I heard that. When I went to Disney, there was an employee who was at a desk. And now there was a desk job that no one wanted. It was the pin trader desk. You were behind the scenes, no one could see you, and nobody really interacted with you. All you did was sort pins. And one day I went back, and there was a beautiful, beautiful woman there. And I was dumbstruck because I thought, how in the world is somebody of this appearance working back here? Well, when I went up the person's side, and I was like, okay, this person obviously wants to say something, and so I started chatting with him. And she mentioned that, lo and behold, she had been on working as Belle from Beauty and the Beast. She was the actress at the park to do the stage performance of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. That is a very high-paying job for the staff, for the average student worker. What's more, you got the opportunity to be considered for high-level acting careers because of that. So it's no wonder why she looked the way that she did. She was actually considered like the upper crust of the students. Well, she was stuck there because when she was getting off stage, someone flipped the lights and she went tumbling off the stage and broke her leg. Literally breaking your leg for the theater. Well, it was a bad break. and she would not be able to perform again for the entire time of working there. She had missed out on everything. Well, lo and behold, because she broke her leg at the base of the stairs, not the top, not on the stage, at the base of the stairs, no medical compensation was given. It was lawyers that had found a way to make sure that Disney never paid. Well, I believed her because I had seen that happen. Not just to her, but to other people. The same sort of thing. Disney lawyers are notorious. Well, a few weeks later, so she was basically paying for that by herself. And so she was broke and had a hard time trying to recover. A few days later, we saw in the news, the company news, that Bob Iger was being given a bonus for the year because of his great success with Disney. He was making 50% of the company's revenue was going to him. 50%. Disney has thousands upon thousands of employees. And he made 50%. And Disney was trying to avoid paying for a broken leg because the lights went out and one of their actresses broke her leg. That was not the only one. That's just the one story I wanted to bring up. It got pretty bad with a lot of other people, including myself, which is how I kind of became aware of this stuff. It is legitimately happening. So how much does a CEO deserve? Well, there's no real rule what they deserve, but I can tell you one thing. It matters. It matters if the people that are working for you are suffering. Bob Iger had no empathy. Neither did the students in my class. I told them that story, and I told them a couple other stories as well, and every one of them was like, no, the company needs more money. That the employees, they don't deserve anything. Obviously, a sign of somebody who had never worked a normal labor job. It was infuriating because I have a high level of empathy, a high level of concern for a lot of folks. I've gotten to try and help a lot of people, stories that I can't tell of things I've been able to interact with some pretty big names. I can't tell you all the specifics because it was told in confidence. Does everyone deserve top-notch stuff? No, they don't. But they deserve to be treated as human beings. And when they start being treated as numbers on a spreadsheet, that's where I draw the line. I would be able to answer with a straight face. I would say, you were asking me, go ask him. That sucks. I'm sure she could milk that contract as bad faith, and hopefully Disney bends. Sadly, to us, we're just little people. But I'm sure Disney is aware of this, so they probably put her under an NDA and arbitration. Yeah. Well, a few weeks later, I finally found the Disney artist that I was hunting for. Now, Disney used to have an animation studio in Florida, and that was where I was working. And I finally found the artist, and I said, I've been wanting to get into animation. And the artist that I was chatting with was like, oh yeah, we used to have a studio down here. They closed it. I was like, oh, that's a shame. A few days later, I came across another guy, a fella who I noticed he was drawing at one of the shops, and he was waiting for he was just sorting through some stuff, and I was waiting to go up and chat with him. I was trying to gain the courage to do it, and then suddenly I heard cheering, and I turned around and I saw these people parade out of the back room, and they were holding a pin for, I believe it was 35 years of service, 35 years that he had worked there. And they handed it to him and said, "Wow, congratulations, you've been with this company for so long, you are so loyal, you're wonderful, here's your pin." And okay folks, back to work. He smiled, he accepted it, and then the moment that they turned away and went back, his face scowled, and he threw it off to the side and went tankering down behind one of his desks, lost. I think, oh, okay, I really want to talk to this guy now. And so I finally went up to him and said, "Hey, 35 years, that's a long time. Have you been working here at the parks, or did you work somewhere else as well?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, I used to be an animator. And last film I worked on was Brother Bear." What? Oh, you were like in the upper crust of Disney's animation. You're working on their animated films? And he worked on a couple of them. I was like, 35 years. Basically, he's been around for the Disney Golden Age? I got I was excited to hear that. But at the same time, he was a man who's broken. He mentioned that when it was like 3 years prior, when they shut down the last of their animation studio, they came to him and said, "Hey, thanks for all your years of service. You're fired." And he said, "Well, wait a minute. I've been working for this place for a long time. I don't want to just go work anywhere else. I love this company. It's basically been my family." And Disney said, "Well, too bad. You can go and work at the parks if you want." And so he went to work at the parks, drawing characters. He was a human stamp. I have one of his artwork. All he did was the same old drawings. He wasn't allowed to be creative. He wasn't allowed to innovate. He wasn't allowed to do anything that would be different than what the company told him to make. "Oh, you can't draw Mickey in any other pose but this one. Oh, you can't draw Tarzan in any other pose but this one. Oh, you can't draw this or this or this." He was a human stamp. He had to draw the same drawing over and over and over. Animating on Brother Bear to a human stamp, because the company wanted to hire people overseas. So I asked him, "Is there any chance of getting into the animation industry?" He said no. He was kind, he loved his craft still, and he still mentioned about some of the tips and tricks, but for him, he was a shell of the man that he once was. I very much wish that he gets a second chance one day, but he's getting old, and I don't think it'll probably happen now. Bro, he's an effing legend. But damn, yep. I understand not everyone deserves to have good treatment, to be preferred, or to... But one thing that is so important so very important, is to be willing to acknowledge that there are people out there that need to at least be treated with love and kindness. If you have somebody like that who has been loyal to your company, and you think, you know what, just to save money so Bob Iger can make more money, let's do that. Let's get rid of all of our senior animators and hire brand new ones that are cheap. You know, one of the great things of Walt Disney himself? He lived on beans and toast because he wanted to be able to afford salaries for his company. He wanted all his employees to have the ability to live well, to have homes of their own, to be able to pay for their kids' education, to go on the occasional vacation. He did that and lived as a pauper. The man was never rich. Even when he started to make a whole lot of money, he was always trying to channel that money back into the company. That is a legendary CEO. That is a legendary creator. Bob Iger is a selfish brat who is gorging himself on the life and blood of a company that was made by a man who sacrificed everything to make sure that his people had longevity. Yeah, you never know. You never know, Inertia. But yeah. A lot of people think love is sappy. And that, oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, it doesn't deserve to be in business. When you hear about a person's story like that, it takes a cold person to not even care the slightest for the well-being of someone like that. By the way, a lot of Disney animators were around the park making sketches like that. That was all they had. There was several of them. I came across a couple. That was the one with the most dramatic story, though. I will say that. I have no ability to help those people other than to tell their story and to, get their artwork whenever there's an opportunity, which is not often, and it's very hard to try and find people like that anymore. But I did get one piece of artwork from them, and the guy was willing to break the rules and make something that was slightly different, and I appreciated that. Learn from Doctor Who that hate is foolish and love is always wise. There's a YouTuber that I worked with a couple of years back, and he had the Bob Iger sort of approach to things. He was quite cold, and he had some moments of good quality. I will not pretend that he didn't. But there's a lot of things that he did that just left me baffled. Because I could see the damage that was happening to other people, and he didn't care. To him, it was all about making money. It's all about trying to elevate his position. And other people didn't really matter to him. I had to try and console some people. I mentioned earlier that I've been able to speak with some pretty big names. That some of those names was through this event. Was getting a chance to try and help out them as they were kind of being mistreated and kind of basically being told that they existed to serve his agenda and nothing else. You will not. Here's the thing. Walt Disney had a loyal company. People bent over backwards for his company. And after his passing, it went into a golden age because the people that were there still loved the company. They were taking his vision to the next level. Those people are to be commended for their dedication to the company. But it's also proof that love and loyalty, when shown to your employees, will come back around one day, even if you don't live to see it. The reason why we have a high opinion of the legacy of Walt Disney is because of the impact he had on his employees. If he was cold and heartless, like so many other filmmakers or whatnot, he would become obscure, but he became legendary because he was kind. He was also obsessive, but he was a kind fella. And I don't know if it's very rare to find people like that in any business, let alone Hollywood. By the way, folks, just a reminder, if you are watching on any of the platforms where you can like or dislike or comment, feel free to do that. It helps. It helps me to know whether or not you're flesh and blood. Because, we have a lot of bots that can appear, and so it just be considerate. You don't have to chat, but if you can just do a like or a dislike, I'll accept both because, well, it's not likely that a bot would do that. From what I've learned so far, those people are bound to crash very hard. From afar, they appear to be enjoying themselves, but down deep, they need to keep that up because the moment they stop, they begin hitting the ground super hard. That's the consequences of taking shortcuts, I believe. Yep. Yep, indeed. There's a guy that I got to interact with. He was an actor. And he was he was having a hard time. No one knew about it. And I got a chance to see it firsthand, but he also confided in me about that. Now, he was not a very big actor, and I think right now he's only been doing things on like small town theater stuff, but he was having a hard time, and he mentioned about the kind of the loneliness that starts to hit, and the self-doubt and the bitterness. It's where I started becoming sympathetic to a lot of people in those positions. But there is one thing that I find very hard to be sympathetic for, and that's people with power who abuse that power. People like Bob Iger. They're willing to take advantage of the world in order to elevate themselves. They steal the bread from one man so they can just cast it aside. Still just baffles me. 50% and a bonus of a company's income. The Inertia. Yo, just noticed you're on YouTube too. Hey, much appreciated there, Inertia. From what okay, let's see here. Oh yeah. We're going to be going for, honestly, probably to the end of this round is where I probably need to call it. Just a reminder, folks, we'll be back tomorrow, but we'll be over on the Castercraft side, and we'll be doing the Blender Challenge. Now, the Blender Challenge is designed to be where artists have the ability to participate in, but it hasn't been done yet. We had a couple of artists that wanted to participate in the past, and it never quite materialized. And so it is something where the goal is eventually to get to that point again, where we have the ability to where we have the ability to have kind of like a training session. That's what the Blender Challenge really is. It's not a competition. It's learning, but with the fun of a competition. Oh, no. Oof. So far in life, I limit myself to the things I can control. I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but I find myself, if I cannot stop the world from burning, might as well roast marshmallows on it. You know, there is another option, and that is honestly the one that I would like to do. I don't always do it, but this is the goal that I want, is to be the one hauling the people out of the burning. To be able to reach in and say, well, I can't stop the burning, but I can still do good. Honestly, there is going to be times in life where things just burn down, where things collapse. Empires rise, empires fall. Communities thrive and communities rot. The forest grows and the forest burns. You can't stop that cycle, but you can help those that are about ready to be harmed by it. You can reach into their life and offer some level of help. They're not always going to accept it. And sometimes you reach into someone's life to try and help them, and it doesn't actually seem to work. I mentioned this story the other day, and so I won't rehash it right now, but sometimes somebody actually comes up to you years later and says thank you. When that happens, it can make it very hard to kind of go back into not want to try and help people when they're in trouble, when they're in the process of kind of residing inside the burning building. I want to be the fireman to break in the door and say, okay, I'm trying to get you guys out this way. That's the role I want to have, because I don't think that we can stop a lot of things just falling apart naturally. But you can be the lifeline. Anyway, thanks folks for coming by. Right now we just have one on both Twitch and Rumble. Let me see if anybody is even live on Twitch. I've noticed that the number of people live on Twitch is a lot less than it used to be. No, they're not. Okay, well, we're not going to raid on the Twitch side or on the Rumble side. I will say much appreciated, folks, for coming by. Just one last reminder, we do have the ability for people to interact with streams in the future. The accounts are free, and you get silver for watching the streams. And with that, you are able to do things like play sound effects. I need to alter the volume on those. But either way, this is something where you have the ability to use this, and it also serves as the central hub for the creative stuff that I've been working on. So castercraft.net is the website that I've been building up. Content is coming out, and it is in various stages of completion or development. But I look forward to sharing that with you folks as the year goes on, and we'll be adding some other things like the Blender challenges to that as well. It's because of the ads. I have 2.1K. I've been AFK farming your streams for a while now. Much appreciated. Mellow Skulls, greetings. What's up? Well, unfortunately, we're just at the tail end of our stream for today. But how are you doing, Mellow Skulls? 2.1K. That's a substantial amount there. Inertia. I know that for me, it takes me forever and a day to earn channel points. It mostly because Twitch has been very unkind to me, and so when I try and watch other people's streams, it's been glitching out. I've been getting bombarded with ads, and many times I'm just trying to focus on stuff while I'm working on stuff on the side, which is one of the reasons why I turned off ads. Now you still get ads, but you don't get extra ads because of me. Late but always appreciated. Indeed. All right, folks. Well, I got to set up more renders for tonight, which, by the way, when this is all said and done, I have actually some tips and tricks I'm going to be going over about the things I've learned in this whole process of rendering out the latest Lego animation. But it has been a very frustrating process, and the look of the short, it gets better at times, it gets worse at other times. Anyway, I might have said Mellow Skulls. I might have. It's getting late for me. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I've been trying to end streams earlier. It's very possible. If I did, my mistake. Meow Skulls. Yes, indeed. I do remember your name. I've lived with television where you watch 5 minutes of ads for like a minute of show. 30 seconds is nothing to me. Anyway, chat with y'all later. Just a reminder, no matter where you are in life, be civil to one another. And we will see you next time, whenever that is. Blender challenges tomorrow, and we got more art and animation for the following week. Until next time, folks, have a very pleasant evening.